One of the things we realized is that we haven't taken the time in these weekly calls to tell people about IncubatorWorks. And we assume that everybody knows who we are and what we're doing. So we're going to start out today with a short presentation about IncubatorWorks. And then we're going to go to any updates on reopening. Barry's going to do that. And then I'm going to talk about the New York Forward Loan Fund and PPP updates. So we've got a great cross section of people on the call today. So while we're waiting for people, there's so few. How about if we go around and ask people to introduce themselves? So I'm going to start with the IncubatorWorks team. So Alan, you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Alan Ray, and I'm Nancy's trusty assistant and resident technical expert.
Thank you. Okay, Barry?
Barry Hemley, I'm the Director of Operations for IncubatorWorks, trying to keep all of the tenants, both in Corning and Alfred, happy. So,
and along with working very hard on making sure that everybody, not just in our buildings, but in the community, understands the reopening requirements too. So, okay, Ashley?
I am Ashley Madison. I'm the Program Director at IncubatorWorks.
And then MK? And this is Ginger. She's my
MK Kellogg, and I'm the Program Manager at the Alfred IncubatorWorks.
Okay, George, you want to introduce yourself to the group, please?
Sure. Am I unmuted?
Yes.
Okay, good. Hi, everybody. I'm George Korchowski. I'm with the Appalachian Region Commission Program of New York State, and normally my face isn't so fuzzy and looking like a castaway. I'm normally wearing a suit, but looking a little casual today. And I'm letting this grow till Father's Day, and then I'll get rid of it. Other than that, Nancy and Ashley, I just sent you along a link from ARC about some technical assistance seminars they have that are for a workforce development program covering projects from 150,000 to 1.5 million, and they require no match. And the deadline is July 24th. So
wow.
When you get that email, if you want to pass it along, we'd appreciate that. Okay.
Will do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Dan.
I get to wear a lot of different hats. I guess the best one I'll just wear today is Dan Panosian. I've been in the community for my entire career, and Panosian Enterprises is still a part of many different pieces and realty I work with, and just trying to encourage and support people doing a lot of good things in the area.
Thanks, Dan. Lori?
I'm Lori Reenan, and I work at the library as the business manager at the Southeast Bend County Library.
And she's, yeah, at the library, we're going through a huge project right now. So Lori and I'm treasurer of the library, so we're talking all the time. And also working on the PPP for the library. So Clayton, would you introduce yourself, please?
Here we go. Yes, I am with ESD's New York Ventures. We make investments in the startup community, and I'm joining just to make sure that I know what's going on in the rest of New York State. I make a really honest effort to reach all the corners.
Great. Scott, I see, I'm not sure if you're connected. And if you are, would you introduce yourself, please? Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, sure can. Great.
There we go. Hello, everybody. Scott Beecher. Actually, I have Bob Thomas in with me too. Ward Diesel, EL Manufacturing, Ward Apparatus, Boss Security. We're in the old Schweitzer building in Horseheads, New York, behind Chili's on the airport.
A classic serial entrepreneur. So thanks for joining us, Scott. And Rita, I see you're on the call. Would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Hello, I'm Rita Lance. I'm the Director of Employment and Training for Allegheny County.
Thank you. I think I've got everybody. We've
Yep, I
got
think
a
so.
diverse group today. So with that, Ashley, I'm going to turn it over to you so you can start with our infomercial, if you will,
Wonderful.
about IncubatorWorks.
And let me just make it full screen here. It's going to let me. There we go. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. So what is IncubatorWorks and how can we assist your business? We are a community incubator with a global reach. One of our focuses, since I think everyone on the call today is very familiar with the phrase of wearing many hats, our incubator also wears many hats. So we're very focused on our community programming. We focus on the community in which we serve by creating an entrepreneurial community through networking events and mentoring all types of entrepreneurs with development, growth, and scaling assistance. Currently, of the 40 entrepreneurs that we serve, a third are minorities and a third are women. So that includes our Corning and our Alfred Incubator. We do have a ceramics and glass focus. That's what the incubators were originated as, 35 years ago. I had to think how old I was. That's how old the incubators are. So we were created as a ceramics corridor innovation center in 1987 between Corning and Alfred, New York. We are 50 miles apart from each other, right down 86. And IncubatorWorks provides top-of-the-line resources for ceramics and glass science and art startups through Alfred University and the CAT, which is the Center for Advanced Ceramics and Technologies. Here is our program staff. So our executive director, Nancy Kirby, co-director, Alan Ray. We have myself, program director, Barry Hemley, operations director, and then in Alfred, we have our program manager, Melody Kellogg. And we have our contact information listed here, but I will put it in the chat also so that if anyone would like to reach out, you will have that available. So how do we exactly help and mentor each entrepreneur that we see? Because every single entrepreneur that we see is in a different phase of their business, whether they only have an idea or whether they have an idea and a business plan, but they don't know how to go further, or they might have an existing business and have been in business for 1 to 5 years and never had any mentorship. So they're just now finding out about us and coming to us for resources. So this lists some of the things that we do to assist our entrepreneurs. So currently we are helping with business survival during the pandemic, which will be one of our assistance programs for the next year plus. Mentorship, a thinking partner. This is a really big one that we do because a lot of the times when an entrepreneur comes to us, they have different conversations with their friends and family than they do with a small business resource like IncubatorWorks. So it certainly helps them not to feel isolated, and it just puts a new, fresh set of eyes and ears onto the project or business that they're working on. We do networking, so we offer networking programs with other entrepreneurs in the business community. We offer technical advice, financial planning, and projection development. Nancy is a certified CPA by trade, so she offers that expertise to our entrepreneurs, which is incredibly valuable. Business plan development, certification assistance, so certification with the Service Disabled Veteran-Owned Business Certification, which is a 6% set aside, and then also with the Minority and Women-Owned Business Certification, also known as the MWBE. Marketing support and funding, which is everybody's favorite. They're always looking for funding. So finding loans, equity, business competitions, and then if they need introductions to a local bank, we certainly can assist with that as well. And then connections to academic supports, including product development and research and development, as well as startup space if they do need such thing. So as I notated before, we do have 2 incubators, one in Corning and one in Alfred, New York. So our territory is quite large. We serve entrepreneurs in Chemung, Steuben, Schuyler, and Allegheny counties. It's important to note that you don't need to be a resident in our incubator to access our services. That was the old incubator model where it was a tenant agreement. Although we do still have 2 large and beautiful facilities, we certainly assist many entrepreneurs, Main Street type businesses, service type businesses, because of the communities that we are located within. So here we have who is in our Alfred Incubator. So the Alfred startups that we currently have are Xylon Technical Ceramics Incorporated. They recycle rare earths for the aerospace industry. Very exciting, intriguing stuff. SRS Holdings, they're developing ceramic products for the energy industry. Replacement Tile Solutions, this is one of our newer clients, and they are doing a process for 3D replacement ceiling tiles. So the ceramic ceiling tiles are very costly, and they have found a process to replace those so that it's more cost efficient for homeowners that have those types of roofs. Our anchor tenant is Saxon Glass. Saxon Glass has a process that strengthens the EpiPen glass. So all EpiPens come through our Alfred facility for that process. And Saxon has been very crucial in the EpiPen industry because the failure rate for an EpiPen was very high in the beginning. And since Saxon started this process shortly after our incubators opened, they've been doing very well. And we have anchor tenants because we're run a little bit like a mall, although I'm going to have to stop using that term because malls are going by the wayside. But because we are a nonprofit standalone incubator who does not is not connected to a university, we don't have funds coming through university, so we are grant funded, and then we are funded through our rental agreements. So it's important that we have our anchor tenants. And then the Center for Advanced Ceramics Technologies is within our Alfred Incubator as well, which is a wonderful resource that is through Alfred University. We do have space available in our Alfred Incubator, and we do have broadband internet access. So there's been lots of discussions since all of this work from home business has started, because there are several individuals that live out in Steuben County in the hills, or you know, our neighbors out in Allegheny County who do not have good broadband internet. And there's just no way for them to receive it because there's nothing in the ground and there's nothing aerial, you know, pole to pole yet. So we do have broadband internet access. And here's our Corning Incubator. So the startup in our Corning Incubator is Green Star. They are a commercial cleaning and building maintenance business. And then two other resources that we have within the Corning Incubator besides IncubatorWorks are REDEC, which provides gap financing and loans for small businesses. And then the SBDC is located within our incubator, and they provide small business assistance as well. Our anchor tenant in the Corning Incubator is Corning Incorporated. A lot of neat projects come through our incubator. So they do new technology development down from Sullivan Park inside of our incubator so that they're separated from the quote unquote corporate world that's going on up on the hill. So they, for example, have done Gorilla Glass and Willow Glass have gone through our incubator. So really super to have them there with us. Here is a little bit of a list of the entrepreneurs that we are currently assisting, just to give you an idea of the types of individuals we help and how they are so different from each other. So this does include our Corning and Alfred Incubator. We have a microgreens entrepreneur, a graphic designer, a wastewater treatment product, a financial advisor, a college and career advisor, interior designer solutions, a litter box product, and an entrepreneur that does computer upcycling. So this is just a few of the 40 entrepreneurs that we are currently mentoring. We are a community incubator. It is so important to serve our community. Typically, incubators really only focus on tech startups, and as we all know, there are a few tech startups and a few opportunities for tech startups within our community, but we really want to serve the entrepreneurs that make up that small business community that is so crucial to our economy in Elmira, Corning, Watkins Glen, and Alfred. So this is from the Startup Communities book by Brad Feld, and it really just speaks for our incubators and what we do. So entrepreneurs must lead the startup community. They need to be the ones to be the leader. and then we can just follow suit and facilitate as best we can. The leaders must have a long-term commitment. The startup community must be inclusive of anyone who wants to participate in it, and the startup community must have continual activities that engage the entire entrepreneurial stack. So here we have a few things that shows what we have been doing as a team since everyone has been working remotely and since COVID-19 kicked us all out of our offices. So this is our response to the COVID-19 pandemic and the needs of small businesses. On April 2nd, we started our weekly Zoom call, which is what we're on right now, to connect entrepreneurs to resources. Since starting this call on April 2nd, we have assisted 10 entrepreneurs to access almost $300,000 of PPP funds. And now we are working with them to achieve forgiveness. So this is every Thursday at 3 p.m. And right now the Zoom call link is the same every Thursday, but if you don't know where it is, just look on our Facebook page and you'll be able to find it. This is one of the programs and workshops that we offered our entrepreneurs. We have done the Co-Starters program in the past, which is a 9 to 10 week accelerator. And we knew that we needed to do something a little bit more condensed and shorter since it was going to be virtually on Zoom, because the original Co-Starters program is about 3 hours once a week. And that's just a little bit too long to be on a Zoom call. So Co-Starters themselves, they have a lot of different programs, and the Get Started workshop was one of them. So the Get Started workshop, we did 8 one-hour sessions. We originally were just going to do 4, but the cohort wanted to continue on, which was super, so we did. And we really focused on the business model canvas. Some of you might be familiar with the original business model canvas, and Co-Starters themselves has a different one, which we really like the layout of that. And there's a photo here on the screen of what that looks like. And then we have our topics listed for what we talked to that cohort about for those 8 weeks. And that ended last week. Yeah, just last week. So now what do we do next? So what we do next is another Co-Starters program, which is new. Like many businesses, they did some customer discovery to figure out what their customer base is hungry for and what they're going to need now that we're living in this new way of whatever that is going to be. So the new Co-Starters program is to help small businesses reposition, reinvent, and recharge their business. So it's going to be the road to recovery, and we are going to be starting this June 2020, probably mid-June 2020, since June 1st is just next week. And on the left here, you'll see some of the topics that are going to be in that course. And then as small businesses navigate the COVID-19 crisis, this Co-Starters program provides entrepreneurs with a practical pathway and trusted tools to approach the market in a new way, one step at a time. To see many small businesses, if they were able to continue to operate, they learned to operate in a different way while we all had to do the social distancing. But now that the social distancing is slowly being lifted, depending on what phase your business is in, there still will be some new ways to do things and some pivoting, and the way that we used to run business will be different. So this program is going to be really beneficial for those small businesses in our community. And now I will give it to Barry to talk about the reopening updates in our counties.
All right. So unfortunately, there are no updates. I think a lot of people were hoping that this afternoon the governor was going to be announcing that we would be opening tomorrow, or that there were plans to be opening Monday, but we still at this point have not heard anything. Let's see. Okay, you guys can hear me. So what I wanted to do is just take a second to review the state reopening guidelines for your industry. So if you look at the website, there is a website out there called forward.newyork.gov. And that is going to take you to all of the reopening guidelines and which industries are under which phase. as soon as phase 2 opens, this is going to be the resource that everybody is going to be going to. What you're going to be looking at is going there to review the guidelines for your industry, your specific industry. Once you've done that, you're going to be looking at the create a plan, which is also listed under there. This is going to give you guidance on what you need to do for your business. And what the state is actually requiring. So what is mandatory for the state versus what is recommended by the state. Once you have created your plan, you're going to affirm that your business has read the guidelines and create an opening strategy. So I think the important information that we've gotten thus far is that from New York State's perspective, your business is not open until you've gone through all 3 of those steps. So you have to go through all 3 of those steps to be considered reopened or open for business in New York State. One of the pieces I wanted to elaborate on a little bit today is that even if you don't qualify for phase 1 or phase 2, if you're a phase 3 or a phase 4 business, it really makes a lot of sense right now to get out there and look at what these guidelines are and start planning and preparing your business and your employees or staff that you may be bringing back so that they're aware of what those guidelines are before they get on site. Some of the keys to reopening right now, some of the things that I've seen basically right now in a lot of instances, at least for phase 1, the requirements or the mandatory guidelines from the state are that you have a thermometer check station as one. So you either have to have a thermometer check station at the entrance of your facility, or you have to have an assessment. And the state has actually created the assessment. So it's 3 questions, and basically what they're looking for is people accessing your facility to affirm that they have not been in contact with anybody that has COVID-19, aren't displaying any symptoms, and have been outside of contact with anybody. So there's 3 different pieces of that. And those are basically the 2 requirements for that. And it's, if you don't have the tools to put that together, that's something that you're going to want to be looking at right now. PPE is another big one. So ensuring that you have the appropriate PPE for your staff. That would be like masks, gloves. In some instances, if you have cash registers, having shields up so that there is a barrier between your staff and the customer. So all of those things are important right now. As far as like masks, they also want to know whether or not you have a supply, so that you may be able to supply your staff for the first week, but they want to know that on a weekly basis you can get the PPE in that is required. Another key piece is documented cleaning and sanitizing program. So if you typically clean and sanitize on a once a day, they want to see that you're doing it on a twice a day type basis. With that, they want to know when you're cleaning and sanitizing, what areas of your facility you're cleaning and sanitizing, and by who is cleaning. One of the other pieces that we've done and gone a step further is we've actually gone and listed out what chemicals we're using, because the state has a list of chemicals that can be used or should be used while you're cleaning. So just key pieces for that. And the other piece is a communications plan for your staff. So letting them know if they are, displaying any symptoms, that they should be staying home and self-quarantining. If they've been around anybody that has got the COVID-19, that they're staying home. The other key pieces is hygiene, so making sure that you're posting posters as far as washing hands, letting people know where you've got sanitizer solution, if you have masks, and the other is a reminder on social distancing. So, and that is it for reopening updates.
Thank you, Barry.
Any questions?
I don't see any questions. Although if there are any, we will ask again at the end. So now we have the overview of the New York Forward Loan Fund. So I will give it to Nancy. Oh, let me unmute her. There we go.
It's a new week, so there's a new loan. And it's been a short week, so I didn't even get a slide presented, so I apologize for that, but I'll give a brief overview of the New York Forward Loan Fund. So this opened on May 26th. It is funded by a consortium of banks and foundations. You apply for this loan through 5 community development financial institutions. You'll see the acronym CDFI. And you can find them on the Empire State Development website. And this application is all done online. So there is $100 million of funding available, and it's 5% is reserved for nonprofits, 30% for small landlords, and 65% for small businesses. So small business here is really small, 20 or fewer employees. For nonprofits, 20 or fewer employees, and for landlords, 200 or less units. So you can only apply for this if your business is in a phase that is open, or your nonprofit is in a phase that it's open. Just kind of too bad, because it'd be nice if you could apply for it before, like if you were in phase 3, you could apply for it now, so this money would be there when you're ready to reopen. But anyway. It is not first come, first served. It's assessed on a case-by-case basis. They don't really say what the decision-making factors are. Maybe those will come out. Small businesses can apply for a loan in the amount of $100,000 or up to 100% of their average monthly revenues for any quarter in 2019 or the first quarter of 2020. Pretty much the same rule for nonprofits, so it's average monthly expenses. And landlords can apply for up to 100,000 or their projected reduction in 3 months net operating income. So 5-year terms, 3% interest, interest only for the first 12 months. And if you got a PPP, you cannot apply for this money, which kind of interesting. It is a loan. There is no loan forgiveness. Like, we've gotten so used to the PPP. Credit is a factor. We don't know how much. One good thing is there's no collateral. I'm not sure if I said that yet, so bear with me if I'm repeating myself. So looks like a good loan would be helpful, but not critical. They said they have got a lot of applications already. So, and also they set aside money based upon the regions of New York and the population. So it's like 30% for New York City, and then the rest is split around the rest of the state. So that's the New York Forward Loan Fund. Any questions on that?
I applied for, Nancy, this is Scott, for 2 of my companies, my landlord and my farm, but they only did the pre-application, and I've not gotten any feedback from anyone. I did it when it opened at noon on Tuesday, whatever day it was.
All right, well, let me know how you make out on that. That would be good to know.
Will do. And we did PPP for all the other companies and did get that.
Good. Well, we can certainly help you as you work on the forgiveness if that's an issue. So,
yeah, thank you.
Ashley, you want to go? I think the next, did we have a slide for, yeah, PPP question. So there have been a couple of small refinements since I went over the forgiveness rules last week. The SBA did issue some guidance on May 22nd. Has to do primarily with the forgiveness and includes things, information on payroll. For example, payroll earned but paid outside the 8-week forgiveness period does qualify. So if you've got an issue with payroll falling outside the 8-week period, you can look at using alternate periods based on accruals. So something to think about. Another thing to be aware of that I covered last week on the Schedule A form that supports the forgiveness is that FTEs, when it comes to forgiveness, are calculated per employee. So you remember we had the spreadsheet that we've generated. Let me pull that up. Ashley, let me see if I can find it. Don't share screen yet with me until I can find it. But that might be helpful to look at that again. So let me just open it. As I'm talking about it, I realize it's still something that's good to look at. Okay. That is not the one I want. All right, if I don't find it here in a second, we'll go on. I've had way too many Excel spreadsheets open today. All right, we'll keep going because I'm not finding the most recent one.
Okay.
But so that spreadsheet is available if people would like to use it for, and it's really for planning purposes, especially if you're in the last few weeks of your PPP and you need to work through where you stand on forgiveness. So, and remember, even if there's an amount that's not forgiven, it's still a 1% loan, so it's still a very good thing. I talked to Congressman Tom Reed's office this morning, and they're still working to extend it from an 8-week period to possibly a 16-week period. And there is still some discussion about making the 75% rule more flexible, and the 25%, the items that you can spend that 25% on for forgiveness, which right now are utilities, rent, and mortgage interest. They would like to expand that. But
Nancy,
nothing new yet. Go ahead.
this is Scott. Quick thing. Could you share the up-to-date spreadsheet you have once you have it? Maybe send it out to us. I'd love to use that. Look at it. Our PPP ends on Friday the 5th, so we're rapidly reaching the end, and I'm trying to get everything documented as clearly as possible. And for us, we have the 25%. There you can do under the utilities. They include travel expenses, phones are, so we're putting our cell phone and office phone, internet's included under utilities. So there's a lot of things to try to maximize that 25% as much as you can.
Absolutely. And okay, here I'm up to the recent one. So if I'm going to share my screen for a minute. Ashley, I did find it.
Let me stop mine. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so can you see it now, Ashley?
Yep.
All right, so this is the spreadsheet we've developed internally and we've been using to help our startups and our entrepreneurs plan on how they use the PPP. And so just to reiterate, this uses an example for someone who this is based on a real life example of someone who received $49,000 on April 16th. And not going to go through the whole thing because several of you have heard all the details, but Scott, this will give you a sense of what's in here. And the shows each pay date, the gross pay. In this case, the employer did not have any retirement or group health, so that's not included. But you can see that the total payroll was $28,000. So this employer did not make the 75%. He was only able to get to 57%. And then that forgiveness then has to be further reduced by the average FTEs during 8 weeks were only 5.8. And during the comparison period, it was 7. So he has to reduce it and can only take 83% of that original forgiveness amount. So potential for forgiveness for this person is 23,000, or for this business is 23,489. In the 25%, this business has $5,000 in rent, $1,000 in utilities, so their total is $6,000. They could have spent up to the 25% requirement was up to $12,000. So they're not going to get full forgiveness for this either. And as Scott mentioned, utilities does include internet access, phones, all the things we think of as utilities. And there's discussion of expanding that amount.
They included travel too.
Okay, I haven't seen that in anything yet.
Yeah.
Would you share that with me? Because that would be terrific to know.
Yes, because that's, with our service techs all over the country, that's a sizable amount for us. And even our boss techs on the road, fuel, hotels, meals. So I'll make sure I get that out to you.
Great.
I'll dig it up when we're done here.
Well, this whole thing, and we keep talking about it, we talked about it yesterday in our large call, is it's a collaborative effort because we're all trying to understand these rules as we go.
They also, under the payroll part of it, they also included 1099.
I don't think so. There was original discussion of that, but everything I've seen lately has said no. So let's check on that.
Thank you.
So
Nancy, we have another question in the chat. Maritza, I don't know if you are muted. I will ask your question though, and then if you want to hop in. So what about the safe harbor rules? How does it work if the business meets the FTE? And then I'm not sure, it says 630 less than 2/15.
yeah, so if you get back to your full FTEs by June 30th, then you're a safe harbor and you don't have to take that second level of reduction. I don't know if that answers their question.
I will.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess it sounds like every week we should still do a review of the PPP.
Yeah.
Even though, I don't want to constantly be providing the same information, but it seems like there's a hunger for it.
Yep.
It's a fluid situation.
Yeah. So for this business, since they weren't able to get back up to full speed and meet the 75% requirement or even spend the full 25%, basically they're going to have to repay in this calculation 20,000 of their PPP. And it's like, okay, that's too bad, but it's still a good deal because it's a 1% loan and there's no collateral, no personal guarantee. And for this business, even though they couldn't get it all given, having a $20,000 loan at 1% for the next couple of years is going to help them out tremendously. And their monthly loan payment on that amount would be $857. So we, like I said, we put the spreadsheet together. People have really seemed to like it. And And the caveat, and last week we showed pages from the SBA form. When you get to the SBA form, you have to actually list each employee, their compensation, their FTE equivalent, and you do need that level of detail. And the forgiveness documentation that goes to your bank also requires copies of payroll registers, quarterly payroll reports, and invoices for all of your documents that fall under the 25% rule. So the documentation is quite involved, and I recommend that you use something like this spreadsheet to make the bank's job easy, so that it's easier in some respects than the SBA form. So I would give them both so they can look at it and say, hey, there's no question that you spent the money as intended and you're entitled to the forgiveness. So, all right. So Ashley, was there anything else on our PowerPoint for today? No? So I guess we could actually, are there any more questions on the PPP? I'd be happy to pull up last week's presentation or answer specific questions.
It looks like Clayton's got a question.
Okay.
I was under the impression that, I think you did mention it, that the 8 weeks required was extended to 16 weeks.
That is under discussion, but it hasn't been approved yet.
It hasn't been approved? Okay, I'd heard it had been. All right.
Yeah, yeah.
But
yeah,
if it does, that'd be great, because that would, most everybody is prepared to spend all the money in 16 weeks, sure.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we helped, there was one small business in Corning that we helped file, and she got it, and then she didn't take it because she's phase 3 or 4. And so she said, well, I didn't want to have to repay it. Unfortunately, I think that's kind of short-sighted, because even if she did, where else is she going to borrow money at 1%? But there's a lot of people that have taken that attitude and that had that response. And the other thing Alan was sharing with me earlier today, there's some discussion about how the SBA is going to audit these things, because the bankers are the ones that have to approve for forgiveness, and then they ultimately supply their recommendation to the SBA. I shouldn't say recommendation, but the documentation.
Right.
I don't think that's going to be a big issue for the businesses and organizations that have received PPP in our community. We've directly assisted roughly 10 entrepreneurs to access about $300,000 through this program. Yeah, that's exactly what it's intended for. And unless somebody was not, and as long as somebody provides their payroll reporting and their payroll, their payroll quarterly tax returns, and I doubt that the SBA is going to look any further for these small ones. They're really going to go after the larger loans that were approved in the first round. I mean, in the second round, I think the average loan in the second round is $50,000. So the second round did go where it was intended.
But there have been cases of people buying Lamborghinis or having fictitious employees that are ending up in criminal cases. So
yeah,
justice is getting involved.
So I mean, obviously something that was out and out fraudulent is totally different, but
absolutely.
I don't want, it's like the person I was talking about that didn't take the loan because she was scared about all of the requirements, and that's sad.
It really is, yeah.
So that's where lack of knowledge is, even with the ability to check in with us, it was too bad that she turned it down.
Yeah.
We didn't help the person on the Lamborghini case either.
No.
Nancy, this is Scott Beecher. Do you know if they extend the 16-week, does that mean they increase the loan amount too? Or you just have 16 weeks to do the forbearance part of it?
16 weeks to spend it to get the forgiveness. So if they would not increase the loan amount, that'd be wonderful if they did, especially for people who can't reopen.
That'd be great.
So any other questions on PPP?
Yeah, hi, this is Maritza.
Hi, Maritza.
Hi. So I read somewhere that if an employee doesn't want to come back, we need a written kind of a statement. But then I read somewhere that we're supposed to report that to unemployment. Is that going to be a requirement? Like, I have really good people that I don't want, I mean, I get it, they want to be on unemployment, but I don't want to lose them in the long term by reporting them.
Okay, so what it is when you're doing the FTE calculation to see if you have to do the second reduction of your forgiveness. If your FTEs as of the end of the average FTEs for the 8-week period are reduced by someone that you offered employment to and they turned you down, you basically get to count them as an FTE. So you do not have to take that reduction. But to do that, you have to have made an offer in writing for them to return to employment that they refused. If they do that, then you do need to report that to unemployment. So what happens from there with the Department of Labor being so overwhelmed, who knows what will happen? But that is what the requirements are.
Yeah. One piece of advice we had was in your offer letter, because people aren't necessarily going to write back to you, is to put in a sentence to say, if there is no answer to this, we assume that you're not accepting this offer.
Correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. I think we'll just close with, if you know a business that is very, very concerned about how they are going to make it in this new world we're in, we're ready to use some of the tools that we have available, especially the Co-Starters Canvas, which is a business model canvas to help them look at where they are, assess where they are, and figure out how they can succeed going forward. We already have a sponsor for the program who we're very, very excited about. We need to get some matching funds to leverage his contribution to, he's basically made us a challenge grant that if we can raise matching funds, then we've got a significant, for us, it's close to $3,000 to help fund this program. So program costs at this point are minimal for us. I shouldn't say it like that. The outlay is minimal. It's our time and our effort in getting the program out there and delivery. So, and I should never minimize our time, because that's probably the most valuable thing we can provide to any of our entrepreneurs. So anyway, if you do know someone in that situation, please send them our way. Well, of course, we'll be focusing on our communities that we serve, but it will be a virtual offering. So it doesn't mean that it just has to be people in our community. We're looking to have cohorts of roughly 10 people, so it'll be a collaborative effort. And we're pretty excited about it. Expect to launch our first one on or about June 10th. So that's it from me today. I'll turn it back over to Ashley and see if there's any more questions or comments from our group.
All that I have to add, I'm getting some feedback here. It's just that it's important to note that the services that IncubatorWorks offers to virtual clients is free. If you rent space from us, then of course there would be a rental fee, but for the virtual clients, it's free of charge.
Okay. All right. Well, really appreciate you spending some time with us this afternoon. Hopefully next week we'll be talking about phase 2 and all the implications there, and also the PPP. We still don't have any information on forgiveness for self-employed individuals. So we're looking for that because that's a big part of the individuals who got PPP. So hopefully we'll have that. And who knows what new things will be in our entrepreneurial community a week from now. We just don't know. So we'll keep doing this, and as long as people keep showing up, we'll be happy to keep doing our best to communicate resources and support for our individuals, so for our entrepreneurs. All right, thanks, and see you next week.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.